Classon. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Richest Man in Babylon. And today we're going to talk about George S. Clason. He is the author. As well as being an author and a father, he was a soldier in his early years, an entrepreneur. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And welcome to the stream. So my name is Dr. H. I am the CryptoPractor. And usually on this channel, we talk about simple investing strategies for crypto beginners, blossoming neophytes, and the next generation OGs. So it's awesome to see you here. And thanks a lot, Will, for the shout out and for checking out my sound. You are a star, sir. Okay, so now we started live streaming. The videos that I make are, as I said, they are simple investing strategies and things that you need to know to make the very most of your crypto investments. And what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to live stream as my specialty, my expertise. I'm an expert in the chiropractic field. I'm not really an expert in crypto. However, I have been investing for more than 35 years, a variety of different vehicles. I went from very humble beginnings to I'm doing really well now. And I just want to share some of the most powerful principles, because over the last 35 years, I've learned dozens and dozens and dozens of things, but I want to share with you the very most powerful principles that I can. And today is really a test stream just to see how my videos are going, how my sound's going. I was pathetic and couldn't get anyone in on the chat. So if you do arrive in the chat, say hey, throw some likes around, subscribe if you wish. Now, because my main gig is so I cannot always commit to more than one regular stream a week. However, I do have windows that open up, and I do want to share as much high value information with you as I possibly can. So do subscribe. If you are part of the community, which I love, which is the Richard Hex, Pulse, PulseX, and all the other wonderful projects and products that we have in that ecosystem, then do share this around your friends. Spread it on, if you're an OD gen like me, then spread it on Facebook. You've got obviously Insta, Telegram, all that rest of that good stuff. Because what it's doing is obviously I hope to get some really good high quality information from our community to other communities outside of crypto as well, so that they can come in, see what we're talking about, see that we've got some very articulate, sensible people looking at high quality products, and maybe pump our bags. Who knows? Okay, so let's dive straight into the subject matter, which is the author of The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, some of the books say, well, in fact, let me make it clear. In 2024, The Richest Man in Babylon had sold 5 million copies. Okay, at the end of George S. Classon's life, which was in 1957. He'd sold more than 2 million copies, and most of the major financial people today talk at a great degree in detail about some of the principles, or many of the principles, that he discusses in The Richest Man in Babylon. But who is the guy behind it? What happened to him? What were his trials and tribulations throughout life? So George S. Classon was born in Louisiana in, I want to say, I'm going to get Missouri. Yeah, Missouri. Missouri. He was born in 1874. Okay, and according to, there's not a ton of information about him, which was quite surprising, seeing his book is so widespread and so quoted. So if anyone comes up with references other than what I've had, either now during the live stream, post it, or afterwards, if you want to post it in comments, that would be phenomenal, because I would like to get more information on him. Now, he was involved in the Spanish-American War. So for those of, okay, so let me rewind slightly. Okay, this is my guarantee. Okay, what I provide to you is never financial advice, and it's never health advice either, because we do not have a doctor-patient relationship without me doing an examination. This is for edutainment only. I don't do any crypto coin shilling. There are no trading courses that I shill. I have no crypto coin sponsors or affiliate links. All education is provided with as much integrity as I can give you. I have no ulterior motive other than to pump my own, well, it's not even to pump my own bags. My main ulterior motive is to leave a legacy. And in doing so, I hope that people like what I say, like the products that I'm involved with. And that in turn, as a spin-off, could bring me even more value. Okay. I want to do it with minimal external bias, and for transparency, I study and hold mostly hex, pulse, and pulse. So whilst you may mention your own particular coins here, it's not that I'm ignoring you or blocking you. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I study hex, pulse, and pulse hex. I like them, and I like them very, very much. So that's really where I'm coming from. That is my guarantee. And if I do slip outside of my guarantee, then do someone tell me in the chat, or leave a comment below. And for those of you guys that are leaving comments or leaving questions in the chat, if there are any particular books that you like, and as you may have seen, I've already done. Actually, I'm going to talk about this. So, chapter 1 of The Richest Man in Babylon, I've already completed that. I am going to trim it down later and make a compilation for the whole book, so you guys can listen to it when you're driving around, or when you're on a long tour, or when you're traveling. Okay, you can see I've got a couple of cameos there. I don't know if you recognize the chap on the right there. I don't know if it's as obvious as I thought it was. Anyway, if you think you know who it is, put it in the chat. And if you can spot the slight resemblance, you might have to zoom in on the guy on the left. Who do you think that is? So yeah, yeah. 3 cookies for those who get it right. Now, this is the first chapter. We've just gone through that. That's the story of Bansier, the chariot maker. He's the chap on the left, and his friend Cobby, who's the lyre player. Lyre is a small guitar, like a small, like a banjo of ancient times. Now, I do the live streams usually Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, 9 a.m. for those of you on the Pacific Coast. For my friends and colleagues in the UK, 5 p.m. and in Oz, it's 2 a.m. on Monday morning. So if you're a complete degen, then come around and say hey while you're doing whatever it is you guys do at that time in the morning. And so we've done the first chapter. Check it out, see what you think, and do let me know. But this was the first chapter of a 10-chapter book called The Richest Man in Babylon. This chap, George S. Classon, designed. Now, back in 1870, back when Classon was 24, the ship USS Maine exploded in Cuba. Havana Harbor was the location. Now, if you believe in conspiracy theories now and you think it's a new thing, well, guess what? It's not. Swimming have an absolute familiarity with this. Now, the USS Maine exploded, killing over 260 people. The overwhelming belief and the overwhelming evidence was that it was an accident and an explosion that set off ammunition within the warship. But in the day, Cuba was held by the Spanish, and it was fighting for its independence. And the US used this incident, stating that it was mines that had been planted on the ship to basically start the American-Spanish War, which lasted 8 months. There was a loss of 2,400 US troops. 400 were killed by the enemy, and 2,000 were killed by yellow fever. So a lot of death and destruction as a result. The other thing that happened as a result is that Guam, Puerto Rico, and sorry, I can't remember the other country. There was a third, Cuba, I think, was ceded to the US. He took over control. What politically, I'm not sure. Puerto Rico is of the US now, as is Guam. Okay, So that's what happened. And Classon got involved in this. Now, he was involved as a soldier. Now, I tried to find out to what degree, whether he was actually in the front fighting with people like these guys. Sorry about the quality of this photo. So this is Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders. They were a bunch of cavalry that weren't given horses for a long time. So they were trained to be highly effective and were involved in a couple of conflicts. And they were actually, the media at the time got involved in filming a lot of their antics. And afterwards, there were movies made, silent movies made of the battles that were involved in. Now, I don't want to misquote it. I think it was San Juan Hill was one. And there's like historically, you need to read up about it if that's of interest to you. There's some interest in reading. Some people were saying that the Spanish were massively outnumbered, and it was a bit of a like beaten up an old granny. And I've been involved in that before. But in war, you've got to do what you've got to do, and make sure that you come out with a W, because there is no L in war. So anyway, whether Classon was involved with those sorts of guys or not, I really don't know. Whether it's backline, but it seems like on to how like decorations and suits, like uniforms and things, officers. So anyone that has any more information about that, I'd be super interested to find out. Okay, and I'd just like to say a quick welcome to everyone. If you want to throw some shouts at me, some comments in the chat, that would be awesome. As I mentioned earlier, if you didn't hear, because chiropractic's not my main gig, crypto is. I don't always hang around in my CryptoPractic workshop here up in space, teaching people about crypto. I do get videos out as much as I can. I've got 2 of the 6 free 6 video program done. I will be honest, the first video, which is 15 minutes long, and I'm pretty impressed with it. It's the what is crypto and what is crypto good for. 15 minutes long, and it literally took me 21 hours to do it with all the editing. And then I showed it to Crypto 7, and I do love Crypto 7. He's been a great help over the last year. And he said, the sound is so good, you need to redo it. Now, here's the thing, for those of you that have done editing, you can't just swap the sound over and keep that 21 hours of work. So it literally took me 2 hours to do a 15 minutes video. But I do love the videos. They come out really well. I don't mind doing them. It's just purely having the time. So that's why I thought I'd get some live streaming going. I do want to contribute to the community. I am a big believer in that, the fact that you should not expect profit from the work of others, especially without doing work yourself. Okay, I think it's not so bad if you're expecting a bit of profit if you're putting some hours in yourself. So that's why I want to get involved with it more. So if you guys can support me, and support means just sharing this around. If you can share it around on Twitter now, that'd be great. On X, that'd be fantastic. Just tell your chaps that there's a crazy Brit that's streaming about stuff. It's mildly interesting. In fact, I find it very interesting. I hope you guys do too. Okay. So that was the conflicts that Classon was involved in. He came out of the war. He'd have been 25 at that stage. He set up the Classon Map Company. Now, this was actually hugely successful. On the left-hand side there, he started off with resource maps. Now, these were maps that identified mineral resources or oil resources or other kind of geographic resources. And he would go. Initially, he was going state. In fact, I think he was doing even smaller than that, probably county by county, and then he went state by state as the company started to build. And he was clearly a very intelligent entrepreneur, okay? Because he didn't start doing roadmaps. And of course, we're talking about the early 1800s. Everything was just dirt tracks, or the majority of places were dirt tracks. And then, of course, as the automobile became more and more successful, the turn of the 1800s to the 1900s, and they became more reliable. Henry T. Ford producing the Model T Ford. Now people could take leisure. Now it was affordable for them to buy a car and with their family. And Ford was very intelligent. His USP, you wouldn't call it that, but it's a unique selling proposition. And he had it written out in a paragraph. I don't have it verbatim, but paraphrasing, it was along the lines of the Ford company here to allow the working man to get away to the countryside for at least 2 days in a 7-day period. And the idea was, of course, they were pushing it to the working man so that he would buy the car so he could drive, get out of the cities and that sort of thing. Well, of course, as soon as the cars are getting out of the city, they need to know where to go. So Classon started with mineral maps, and there were small areas of small towns. And then he started to do maps of small towns. And then even if you check Wikipedia, look for Classon Map Company, you can see town maps, and then there'll be state maps. And then he was the very first person. He had the premier touring atlas of the United States of Canada. So that word premier actually means first. So regardless of whether it's the best or not, it was definitely the premier. So just like we have Hex's premier certificate of deposit in the world, Classon had the premier touring atlas of the United States and Canada. And there's a copy of it there. A happy chap there waving at the passing car. And I've heard a lot of stories. In fact, we'll have to talk about that another day, about early cars. One of my big chiropractic heroes, a guy called B.J. Palmer, unfortunate name, steady. But he had one of the first cars in Davenport, Iowa. And he tells stories of how he was always getting sued by the grocery guy who, on his horse and cart, was passed by Palmer. And then, of course, his car would explode and backfire. The horses would kick up, eggs would go everywhere. The guy would be losing money, so he'd end up suing BJ. But BJ was cutting edge. He was at the bleeding edge back in the 1901, 1902, as was Classon. So this I thought was brilliant. As I was searching, I realized, so this is now going to be, excuse me, this is now going to be, well, this cannot be any earlier than 1917. Not pointing it out or anything, but you guys didn't start the First World War until 1917. So it's not 1940, like when the rest of us were there. But so Classon was intelligent enough, and obviously it must have been a trend or a fad to watch or the news of the Western Front. And people were obviously like tracking on their own maps, their own war maps, what was happening. So it was kind of like the interactive, internet of the day. They were actually doing it themselves. So this was his Western Front map, because obviously people weren't thinking, well, I'm going to go on holiday there or take my car there. So this was just for people to follow the news. What a brilliant idea. And then the richest man in Babylon happened. Now, so what happened is his map company was doing really well. The roaring 20s came. Right up to 29, when there was the stock market crash and the economic crash in the US, and everything cascaded down there. All the countries in Europe were absolutely decimated. And now I just saw a figure where it said that the GDP in the 2008 stock market crash and the depression that happened recently, there was a 1% dip in GDP. During the Great Depression, there was a 15% dip in GDP. So obviously, unemployment it didn't just quadruple; it sextupled in the US. So people were out of work. They were struggling to put food on the table. They couldn't buy extra things. They weren't buying cars. They weren't going on holiday. So the map company actually ended up having to close it down. But what had happened even before the Depression, he started producing little pamphlets. And the pamphlets were on different topics to do with finance and thrift. So, for example, for those of you who've heard the chapter 1, go back and listen to it. But for me, that chapter talks about getting a mentor. Getting a mentor that has done what you want to do. Also, not expecting to be good at something if you've never trained yourself to be good at something. That's really what the guys in the first chapter came to the conclusion of. But they did it in a very colorful way, so I definitely recommend watching that. Now, the other stories are really interesting. Now, he sold these pamphlets even before the Depression, but during the Depression, they became particularly attractive to people that were basically on the bones of their ass. They had no money. They were having trouble making ends meet, but they still wanted to have a little bit of hope. So There's one chapter called The 5 Laws of the Lean Purse. So there's plenty of lean purses in those days. And then the 7 Laws of Gold, or maybe the other way around, the 7 Cures for the Lean Person, the 5 Laws of Gold. But I'm coming to those soon. Once I've done them, I'll know them verbatim. So these small pamphlets he sold to like insurance companies. So, for example, there's one chapter which talks about the walls of Babylon. And then the little the passage at the end of the 20-minute story is, you need to have walls in your life. Insurance at a small price provides you with walls. So basically, they were very clever sales pieces, very subtle sales pieces that appeal to the imagination. And halfway through the Depression, he realized that he had enough of these pamphlets that he could put them together and make an entire book. And the entire book became The Richest Man in Babylon. And let's see where we go next. And the book was so popular that, as you can see, it's been produced in hundreds of different forms. He sold 5 million copies. It's in numerous different languages. I've seen German, but I mean, obviously, it's going to be in dozens of different languages. Some of the most influential people on the planet in the world of finance, entrepreneurship quote them. So there's a guy called Jim Rohn. You may have heard of him. If you haven't, look him up, Rohn. He's a legendary entrepreneur and motivational speaker. He also believed Classon's book could serve as a key to financial success for those who applied its principles. Now, Rohn had an early mentor. This chap was called Earl Shoaff, spelled Shoaff. And Shoaff introduced him to the book, which Shoaff credits for him helping him become a millionaire by the age of 32. Now, I wonder if Richard Hart read this book in early days, because as we've heard, he was a millionaire by the age of 24. And for those of you that haven't heard of Richard, he is the founder of the inventor of many of the cryptocurrencies that myself and my community deal with. Now, so Jim Rohn, in front of live audiences, he speaks of the benefits of The Richest Man in Babylon. And he said, and this is a quote, "I've recommended this book to over 4 million people over the past 40 years with the promise that Classon can help you create financial independence, and probably, and this is a really good point, and probably less than 10% have gone out to buy it," Rohn said. Don't let that be you. Go out and find, buy, and read this book. So just to make it super simple, I put a link, an Amazon link down below. It's not a link that brings me any money. It just gets you to the book. The paperbacks are $6-7. Okay, so I've got a paperback I use. I've got a paperback that I use, and you can see it is battered and torn. And I'm using it for this. I'm getting all of the Richest Man of Babylon creatives. I'm just highlighting a scene or two, and I'm pulling the scenes from there. Okay. Classon applied the wealth building lessons he learned in business to write The Richest Man in Babylon. And ultimately, the book paid off for him, as well as his readers. Classon continued to live off the royalties after his management publishing companies ceased operation. And he moved to Napa, California, where he died in 1957. And more than half a century after Classon's death, his simple message of frugality and enterprise continues to inspire people to become better financial managers. And he's referenced in more than 100 books as a source of inspiration. Clearly, Classon's classic has made a lasting impact. Okay, guys? So his details are all out there in the down below in the description. So you click on the description, and there's a link there to Amazon. There's a link to the Rohn quotes. There's something I want to just share with you briefly, if I can. Okay, this is actually the person himself, George S. Classon. So I just wanted to bring that out here. I've got a really nice picture at the beginning, which is based on him. So but I wanted you to show him without any touch-ups, as it were. Okay, and there's one more, if I can hopefully pull something up. Let's see if I can get it. Right, guys, I just wanted to show you, just give you a little taster of the next chapter 2. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, here it is. So this is a little taster for the next chapter. This is the chapter 2 of the book. Now, it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. That is the name of chapter 2, not of the book. So as you can see, we got a personality that we know the richest man there is starting to give of his wisdom to his crowd. And these are timeless principles. I highly recommend come and join me for the live. It's on Sunday at 12 Eastern time, 5 o'clock for the Brits, 2 a.m. for the Australians, that's 5 p.m., 2 a.m. for the Australians, and for you chaps on the Pacific Ocean enjoying the surfing, it is at 9 a.m. So come and join me for a reading. Mostly will be reading. The readings are really short. They're like 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to try and give it, once this is completed and I've trimmed it down a bit, I will put chapters in so you can go right to the juicy bits. Okay, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed that. Throw some comments there just before we close. Let's see who we've got. We've got Will from the DGen Roundtable. Nice to see you, Will. Always a pleasure, never a chore. I'm just going to check out, see who else might be around there. Okay, so we're just going to wind up. If anyone wants to say anything, please throw it out to the chat now. Hi, it's always good to see you. If you are just visiting after the stream, then put a comment in the bottom. I do visit the comments. I do circle back around. If you have any requests, books, chapters, any thoughts or discussion points from the books or things that really resonate with you, do throw them out there. And we look forward to having a discussion, maybe open it up so everyone can come in and have other people here. Okay, right. I trust that has been of interest. Oh, you seem to have lost me. Yeah. Okay. So I'm disappeared. Right. Okay. So I trust that's been of interest to everyone. Thank you for coming to the Crypto Classroom, enjoying a little bit more of The Richest Man by George S. Classon, the author, soldier, entrepreneur, and father. Okay, everyone, have a fantastic Saturday. Thanks for joining me. This is Dr. H. Out.